Hi there, welcome to Colors. I'm Erica. Today's video is the color long for the Mythographic Labyrinth. This is the color long for April. This is my focus book for this month. And I've picked out, well, you guys kind of picked out a fun page for me to color. And it's this one here. So I'm very excited to do this. I have some ideas. So I have found these couple of inspiration images. I just really liked the way those rabbits looked. I thought they looked really cool. And of course the sky in the background is very inspiring too. So I'm thinking I'm going to do something along the lines with this color palette in mind. If you are interested in how I get my color palettes and my inspiration images, in the last color along I did, you can see from start to finish the whole page, and I kind of break it down in that video, so you can check that out. Today we're just going to go ahead and start with the coloring, and I am still trying to decide exactly what I want to do with the background. I kind of have an idea of what I want to do with most of the page though, so I'm going to grab some colors. We're going to start out with our alcohol markers and kind of go from there. So I will be right back with you with some colors. Okay, so I have decided we're going to do some alcohol marker work, and then I'm going to actually do the background with pencils. It looks like it's a lot, but I don't think it's going to take as long because they're smaller segments, so I think it's going to be okay. Usually when there's like a huge background, I tend to avoid doing them with pencils, but I think this one's going to work. So we're going to go ahead with some pinks. I'm going to do kind of being inspired by this one a little bit more. I'm going to do, see how this, like this swoosh of pink is coming through? I'm going to do the vine in pink and like the portal down here in pink, just to kind of give it a fun look. And then the flowers and the bunnies are going to be light pink. I'm still trying to decide about the Satyr, but yeah, I think that's going to be fun. Okay, so let me get started with that, and I'm using a mix of Copic markers and Ohuhu markers, and I have a Prismacolor one here too. So just get a variety of pinks that you like to use, and you can kind of go along. I will let you know what numbers I'm using just in case you happen to have the same markers I do. But yeah, that's going to be about it. So I'm going to color all of the bunnies. This is my lightest color, so this is RV02. I'm going to color all the bunnies with this light pink. I'm just going to give them a solid coverage of this color. And then with my pencils later on, I will be adding in some highlights, some shadows, and then really trying to pay attention to the light coming from the portal down here. So hopefully that will look pretty cool. Now, when I saw those images, I don't even remember what I typed in to look up those images, but I just thought it looked so neat. So I thought that would be a really fun color palette to try to incorporate. Okay, I'm going to do these other two bunnies, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, next I'm going to work on the vine and the leaves. They're all going to be the same color. And I'm going to kind of go with a medium pink for this one, I think. No, I lied. I'm going to do the darker pink. So it's not super, I mean, it's pretty bright and dark, but I think it's going to look cool. Once all is said and done, I think it's going to look cool. I think the portal down here is going to be this medium pink, and I think that those two colors together will be a good combo. So I'm going to start actually with the portal. So I'm using Ohuhu R15. And I'm just going to, again, give it a flat color, and then I will come in later on with pencils to add in some shading and highlights. So just try to get between all of the vine here that's growing out of there. I have seen a couple versions of this page done for the hashtag that I have going on. So if you haven't checked that out, it's just Color Mythographic 2025. You can check out that hashtag on Instagram and see so many just amazing pages being done for this hashtag this year. So this was really fun. I think just a lot of us colorists, our goals kind of aligned to color more in our mythographic books, and it just worked out well. So yeah, okay, I'm going to finish this off, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, next we're going to use RP6 to do the vine. It's going to look really dark, But when I come in, like again, with my pencils and stuff, I'm going to be able to shade and make things look pretty good. Oh, I forgot to do that a little bit. Let me grab that really quick. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to go through with my marker. I'm going to do all of the leaves and the vine with this darker pink color. I'll do a little bit so you can kind of see the contrast between the portal and the vine coming out of it. It's pretty dark, but it does dry quite a bit lighter, so I'm hoping that it's an okay color to use. I'm not really, this is really just a complete experiment here. I've never done anything like this, so I don't know. Very tempted to just color it, you know, with standard colors and then just have like the magical bunnies, but I really wanted everything to kind of match. So yeah, so there's what the vine will look like. And then I think the leaves are just going to be the same color. Because like, you know, if it was a green vine growing up, all the leaves would kind of be similar as well. So yeah, I'll just kind of do that. When I shade the leaves, maybe I'll add in a couple of different colors, maybe some blues or some purples to the leaves to kind of give it a little bit more character and dimension. So yeah, I think this is going to be good. So yeah, I'll show you the vine here, and then I will show you the leaves, and then I'm going to go off screen and finish that up, and then we'll come back and I think probably start on the background with the pencils. That's going to really take the longest. I'm going to show you kind of my game plan and show you a little bit of that process, but I don't think that it's going to be feasible for me to show the whole thing on camera. So I'll just kind of have to kind of give you updates along the way. I could probably speed some of it up, but I don't want the whole video to just be me, you know, you listening to music and watching me color the background. So we will do it in bits and pieces. So yeah, so here's kind of what the leaves will look like. I just colored one leaf over there, but it's kind of folded in half. So yeah, so when I come in with the pencils, this is all going to come to life. I know that you guys have seen me do this often enough, so hopefully, you know, to kind of trust the process a little bit, because sometimes it looks a little crazy when I first finish and people are like, how are you going to fix that? And it usually works out in the end. I usually manage to make everything work. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to go off screen, finish the rest of this vine and the leaves, and I will be back with you guys in just a second. All right, there we go. There is my super pink page. Like, this is way bright, and I'm really crossing my fingers that I can pull off something similar to what I've been inspired by. We'll have to wait and see. Like I said, typically I can make things work with my pencils, but this is concerning me just a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to use some pencils. I want to really focus on creating like a glow around this keyhole, this portal hole here. And so I want it to be a nice pinky glow around here, and then I want it to fade off into really deep, dark blue. So like navy blue up in the, you know, as you get farther away from that. And then we'll come in and we'll add some like magic-y stuff in the background, Posca dots to the rescue as always. But that is my plan. So I'm going to grab some pencils to work with, and we'll get started on this part, and I will kind of show you, like I said, show you a little bit of it, and then kind of feed you bits and pieces as I record this. Okay, so let me grab that. I'll be right back. All right, I have my pencils here. I'm using a mix of Soucolor pencils and a couple of Pablos to help with the blending a little bit. Once we get to the outside edges, I'm hoping that will give me my dark colors like I'm wanting. So since this is all pink and swirly in here, we're going to have kind of a pink reflection. So a lot of the areas where the portal would be are going to have a little bit of pink on the edges. I'm going to zoom in just a little. So I'm just going to add some pink into some of these areas here. We'll add in a little bit of shading and stuff, but I just kind of want to reserve the areas where I think there should be some pink. So a lot of the bricks all the way up are going to be, and then I'll just add in a little bit of purple here and there, or blue, to try to make it look like there's, you know, some brickwork in this little portal. So yeah, just a little bit of pink all the way around. And then yeah, I'm going to do a little bit on the edge here too. Sorry, that was Soucolor 157. Okay. And then I'm not quite sure what color I want to do the bricks yet, so we're just going to leave that there for now. I am going to start again with the 157 around the outside edge of this a little bit, just to expand the colors out. I will probably end up using like a Gamsol, which is either Gamsol or a blender pencil, probably Gamsol because it's a little easier on my hands, just to help with the blending process so that I don't have to push quite as hard. Like, you still want to have a good amount of pigment on the paper if you're going to use Gamsol, but you don't have to worry about, you know, pressing really hard and, you know, messing up your hand or something. Okay. So yeah, all the way around the portal, that's going to get a nice, just little halo of light pink. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of cycle through the colors I have pulled here. So the next one I have is our rosy pink, which is 24. And I'm going to start out here a little bit and just kind of blend into that lighter pink so that it stays light. I think I'm just going to do straight blending. It's not going to be anything super fancy, and we'll see how it goes. I don't think I'm going to use that one. I'm going to skip to 131. And this is just the first layer of of color. And as I add more layers in, we'll blend a little bit more. So I usually hold these in my hand as I'm going to. All right, I'm trying to decide if I want to do, I don't think I want to do that one either. I'm going to go straight to my blues, so I've got 135. So this is kind of a purpley blue. The majority of this is going to be, you know, like a nice darker blue color. So I've got a nice purpley blue here, and then my next color is even more blue, and then I've got like the Pablo colors to kind of help finish it off. So I'm going to show you here kind of how I'm going to come back through and blend things together. So where those two colors meet, I'm going to blend a little bit right along that, add a little bit more color there, and then do the same with my next color where those two colors meet. I'm going to use the lighter color to try to blend into both sides. Again with my next one. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure, I'm just coloring like normal. And then this last one, I'm going to add a little bit more pressure around the outside edge, and then just kind of bring that color. So you'll be able to kind of see a nice blend through here. And you can kind of, I'm going to hold it up. Well, you might be able to see it okay where you're at. You can probably see quite a bit of the white of the paper coming through. So I'm going to show you how we're going to mess with that. So, well, let's just try a blender pencil because I have it on hand for right now. So I'm going to start in my lightest area. Make sure my blender pencil is clean. I have this Library Rembrandt Splendor blender. And I'm going to start in my lightest areas and just using a medium pressure, start running it over the colors that I've just put down on the page. And you can kind of see it really does help get rid of quite a bit of the white of the paper, and just kind of blends that together. pretty good. Okay, there's that. And then I'll kind of show you what it looks like with some Gamsol as well. All right, I have a couple of paper stumps that I'm going to use, and you can use either one. This little tiny one is good for getting into tiny little spaces, which I don't know if I'll need this one. This is a good size for me. I don't need it to be anything, you know, super little. I have this old bottle of Gamsol that has this cool dauber on the top, so I can turn this upside down and the stuff doesn't come out, but then I can put the tip of my paper stump on there, and it picks up the Gamsol. So that's really handy. But if you don't have something like that, you can just put a little bit in a small dish, and it will evaporate eventually. So you do have to kind of be a little bit careful with how much you put in, but you can kind of see just how quickly that gets rid of the majority of the white space. So now we have a really nice blend there. And the Gamsol will last you a pretty good while. When you start noticing things aren't blending quite as good, you can come back and get some more Gamsol and then you can work on top of it, which is a really nice thing. So if I want to deepen this color up a little bit, I can add even more color to this now. And since I'll have that, you know, that little bit of a layer on the bottom, I'm not going to have the white of the paper showing through this time. So I'm going to start with the dark one and come into this purpley color. We're going to add some pink in there. It probably is a good idea to wait to let the Gamsol dry a little bit too, because I might have used a little bit much right there. So it's almost instantly dissolving the pigment as I put the color down on the page. But yeah, there we go. Okay. So there's kind of the blend that we're going to be doing closer to the portal. And then as we move farther out, so I'll do this little section down here as an example of kind of colors we'll do as we kind of move out farther. So I'm going to start down here and I'll go through this part just like I just did, and then I'll show you how I blend into the darker colors. Okay, I've got that first layer down of color here. So now we're going to start moving into a little bit darker color. So I've got this blue. So this is 119 Cobalt Blue. So we're going to go to this one first, I think. I'm just going to go ahead and put a light layer down on all of this. So this is really definitely a more blue color. It's solidly blue instead of with that little bit of purple in it. But it blends pretty well with that purpley blue color we have down already. All right, and then I'm gonna, I'll just do this little section up here too, and then the bottom corner is what we'll kind of focus on. So yeah, I'm gonna put just a solid blue color coverage on all these little bits. Okay, now I have this deep purple. So this is 171, my Soucolor 171. It's a nice dark deep purple. I'm gonna do a light layer right over top of the blue. This is hopefully going to help darken it up a little bit. I didn't have a really good navy blue that I wanted to use, so I'm going to have to kind of layer some pencils here. And I'm hoping that it works out for me, because I'm kind of out of options at this moment. I was going to use alcohol markers to do this background as well, but I still couldn't find the right alcohol marker, so we're going to kind of go this route and see. So now here come my Pablos. I'm going to start with this slate gray, and I'm going to do, especially on the ones that are a little more farther out from there, so like the things in the corner, the areas in the corners, anything farthest away from the glow in the center. We're going to add a little bit of this to it. And I'm not going to do like whole coverage on that either, so it's just going to be little bits and pieces here and there. Okay, and then we're also going to use the indigo blue, kind of do the same thing. Now these Pablos are a lot more opaque than the Soucolors are. So you can almost immediately tell that they have a ton more pigment, which is very nice. But I'm really just looking for that a really nice deep dark color. And again, not pushing hard on any of these. It's just, there's good coverage. Okay, so I'm going to take my blender again. I've got some Gamsol on the edge of this. I'm going to turn my page so I can work from the light into the dark. And kind of be careful that I don't, you do have to occasionally clean off the blenders so that you can make sure not to bring undesired colors down into the colors that you've already put on there. I hope that makes sense. So I don't want to pull like this really dark stuff into the light pink. All right, and then if this is not giving me the color that I want, we will come back with another option. But I think it's gonna work because this is nice and dark. It's not as dark as when I put the pigment down initially, but I think it's gonna work. And because this is pencil, I should be able to erase anything where I get over the edge. I should. Yeah, so that Gamsol basically is just dissolving all of the pigment that I just put on the page. So now you can see the nice gradient from this light into the dark. I like that. Okay, I think that looks good. Let's see, let's do an erasing test and see how we do on that, because I want to get it off the leaves here. Yep, and it works perfectly. I can clean up the edges. Yep, perfect, awesome. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be kind of the gradient. I might add a little bit of black even, just to really, really darken that up. And since I have a nice layer down, I can just kind of come in and add color as I want. I do want to kind of have variations too. I don't want it to just be like rings of color. You know, I want the color to come in at different times. I hope that makes sense. Like I don't want like just a strip of pink and then a strip of purple and to be just the same shape all the way around. I want it to be flowy and varied. So right now I'm adding in 171, the deep purple, and I'm just going to kind of add it in randomly. So this is kind of what it looks like when I'm coloring. I'll start on the edge and then I'll just kind of bring it in like this. And then I'll color up a little bit more and then I'll bring it in a little farther. But it's really just like little scribbles that I'm layering over top of the color that's already down. And it doesn't do a ton, but it does create a little bit of difference. So yeah, that is my plan. Now I'm using the cobalt blue. So again, just kind of bringing it into those other colors at different intervals. Gosh, I don't know if that word is right either. I hope you know what I mean. All right, I don't want to come too far into the purple color there either though, so I want to make sure that I'm blending things and keep switching between colors. Add a little bit more of this darker blue here. We have this little pink color here, which I think that's going to help kind of bring in the portal and the leaves and everything into the background a little bit more too. I'll use this. Okay. All right, I don't know if you can tell the difference between, like before it seemed like it was just like a straight line down, and now it's kind of, it varies. I hope that you can kind of see that. Do a little bit of blue into this too. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna grab a black really quick. Well, the black that I wanted to use is not there, so I'm gonna try this dark gray, which is number 79 from Soucolor, and see if we can make this corner down here just a little bit darker. I think that's gonna work well. Again, we're bringing the color in at different, you don't want just a straight line all the way around. You want it to be varied. So yeah, that is my idea for all the way around. I will record a few more little sections for you guys just so you can kind of see how I'm doing it. And then when we come back, we'll add some stuff to the background and hopefully make it look really magical and fun. So yeah, so I will talk to you again in a second. Yeah, enjoy this little speed color part. Okay, so here is the background all done. I'm not gonna lie, it did take a little while, so if it takes you a little while to get it done in the background, no worries, just keep working at it until it's done. You can see it's not perfectly blended, but there's a really smooth transition between colors and not too much white showing through the page. And I just think it looks really cool. So yeah, very proud of that. So next I'm going to be using some paint pens in the background to try to create some magical kind of looks reminiscent to these kind of things here. I am going to also have a few little fun like stars on the bunnies too, but that'll come later. So first I have a couple of Tule Art paint pens. I have a very light pink and a very light purple. And I also have my white Posca that I thought we could use if the pink and purple don't work out, because sometimes my paint pen work is not the best, but I'm going to try. So let me get these primed. All right, I think they're both good to go. So we're going to, I'm trying to think about how I want to do this. So I think I'm going to, maybe I'll grab a blue too. Let me see if I have a blue. I do have this Artistro, that's kind of a light bluish color. It's not quite what I'm looking for. I have this other Artistro one as well, but I'm not sure if this is the right color either, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to start, I think, with the pink. So I'm just going to do, oop, that's about to leak. Okay, I'm just going to do a little circle, and then I'm going to use my finger to kind of make a little bit bigger circle. I hope that makes sense. Like, it's just going to be like these not super solid kind of circles. Okay, I'm going to do a few of those around. I'm not sure if that's the right pink. I don't think that's the right pink, so I lied. We're not going to use that one. The nice thing about paint markers on top of a waxy pencil finish is you can scrape most of it off without it looking too crazy. Yeah, that is not what I was looking for, so we're gonna try again. I'm going to try to cover up some of that paint with my pencil here. Okay, so that idea did not work out for me. I'm thinking maybe, all right, we're gonna try this. I have a Posca 3M, and I'm gonna just try to do a little circle kind of where I had this previously. Okay, that works. So when this dries, it's not, the 3M, for me at least, is not quite as opaque when it first dries. So I'm gonna do a few bigger circles like this around the page. I'm going to concentrate most of them closer to the little portal thing here too. All right, next I'm going to just go ahead and stick with my white 1M Posca now. I really wanted to try to do something like that. It's just I couldn't figure out how to blend the paint out right, I don't think. Okay, so now I can come in with my, well, this is not quite working the way that I wanted it to. So we're just going to go ahead and just start adding dots kind of randomly throughout with the white. And you can kind of see, there we go, I like that. This one is a lot more opaque than normal, but if you let it dry a little bit, it starts to kind of not be super opaque. And that one's not dry yet. You have to let it dry completely for sure. And then you can do a little dot of with the 1M, and it will create like a little brighter white kind of light in the center of that circle. I hope that makes sense. This was kind of what I wanted to do with the pinks, but it just wasn't gonna work for me. So I'm gonna hold that up so you can see, like, especially on this one here, you can see that brighter white in the center, and that's just with combining these two Poscas. Okay, I am going to dot around the bigger circles I've made a little bit. Okay, there's a little bit there. Let's see what it looks like if I use this pink just to do just a few little pink dots every once in a while. That doesn't look bad. That way I can bring some of this pink out into the other parts of the page a little bit. All right, I'm going to come through it with the purple now and kind of do the same thing, just randomly adding some dots around. And I am grouping them in threes, but you don't have to do that. This just kind of is a callback to my scrapbooking days where it was good to group things in threes. I mean, it's kind of good to do that like in design ideas anyway, but okay. That's just a few. I don't think I need too many more there. Let's do a little bit right there. Okay. And then the rest are all just going to be white Posca. I am going to do a few little like starburst ones as well. I'm not sure where those are going to be yet, but I'm going to start on this side and work my way over and just kind of add some dots in. Okay, so I am going to show you how I create one of those starburst kind of things. We're going to go ahead and use one of these dots that I've kind of already made kind of like a bigger focus. And so I'm going to start in the center, and then I'm just going to flick, make sure my Posca paint is flowing, start in the center and flick upwards, and then flick down. And then we're going to do out to the side and out to the other side. And then you can kind of flick from the centers as well, from the in between sections. I'm going to do that a couple of times. So I'm going to create another one here. Okay. And then let's do one down here. Sorry, I know you weren't on camera for that last one. We'll do one here. We got a couple of those. We're going to do a couple of like little diamond-y shapes. I'm going to do those with my my pink, I think. So I'm going to do a couple of them kind of in. Well, I was going to use my pink, but that's not going to cooperate with me right now. So I'm going to use my white, and we'll just go in and along some of these musical notes, we're going to add in a few of these little like diamond shapes, I guess is what they are. And sometimes you can just do like a tiny little cross, but you have to use less pressure when you do those. So I realize you probably couldn't see most of that, so I apologize, but you can see kind of within this musical note, around the musical notes, I've got all of those little crosses, and I'm going to add a little bit more right in here, just because I feel like it needs a little bit of love right there. Maybe one other little one up this way. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I think the background is done. Let's zoom out and you can kind of take a look and see what you think. And you can kind of see the difference the Posca makes. Like it's almost night and day with the difference that it can create. Okay, it's not exactly the background that I was trying to make, but I do like the way that looks. I think that's a good background to start with. Okay, next we're going to work on the vine because that's the next biggest thing that I need to concentrate on. So I'm going to grab a couple of pencils to help me with some shading there. Okay, so we're gonna work on this section right here, and I've got a couple of pencils. So I have a white, a pink from Prismacolor, and then I have Orchid Purple and 179 and Mineral Violet 154 from my Soucolors. So these two are gonna be my shadow colors. These two are gonna be my highlight colors. All right, so first I'm gonna use this Orchid Purple to go ahead and anywhere where there is shadow, I'm going to be adding this color in. And you can see just from doing that alone, it already creates a little bit of depth. And it's wonderful because all of the shadows are already there. So I know right where to place my darker colors. Super helpful that way. Okay, so I'm just gonna focus on this little center section of the vine right here first. Just so you can kind of see. And I'm really gonna add this color kind of anywhere where it looks like things kind of overlap, or yeah, where those shadows have already been drawn in. So this area here, all along here. Okay, so there's that. Next, I'm going to come in with my white. Now, this is going to be kind of a two-step process. And I'm going to use my white on anywhere where I know that there's going to be highlights. So I'm just going to draw right through where I know highlights will be. And that's usually just on the opposite side of where the shadows are. So if I have shadow on this side of the line here, I'm going to probably have a highlight on that side, just basically like that. And then I'm going to use my light, my pink from my Prismacolors, and just really lightly color right over that white just to tone it back a little bit so it's not so stark, such a stark white. Okay, and then with the Mineral Violet, that's where I'm really going to come in and get like the super dark shadowed areas. And you can really tell where those are because they've got the, you know, the lines already kind of drawn in there for you for the super dark spots. Okay, so that's kind of what that's going to look like throughout. Also, since this leaf is here and it's going to be overlapping, it's going to create a shadow, and we're going to try our best to pay attention to the light source down here too. So when the light is, you know, glowing from underneath, you're going to have, you know, different ways that the shadows are going to behave. So just try to keep that in mind as you're coloring too. Okay, so this little section right here is done. And then I will show you the leaf. So we'll just do this leaf here. Again, I'm going to start the same way using my Orchid Purple to kind of map out where all my shadows are going to be. Typically with leaves too, I will kind of have, you know, a darker shadow along this center line, and then I would have another darker line over on this side, and that kind of is reflected in the lines that the artist has already drawn in. Okay, and then let's do the highlights. So we'll have a little bit of a highlight along the center of the leaf here, a little bit of a highlight on the edge here, and then kind of along some of these veins, we'll have a little bit of a highlight too. If you're not pushing super hard with the white, you can get away with it, but I do like the tone of the pink. I just feel like it really does help it not be such a different look. Okay, and again, since this is overlapping, we're going to use the Mineral Violet to create a good shadow between the leaf here and the vine underneath it. Okay, and then I am going to add just a little bit of this Mineral Purple into some of the darker areas. Okay, so there we go. So there is kind of what the vine is going to be like and the leaf. I'll do a little bit of this on camera for you guys. I'll probably just finish the rest of this section, and then we will move to that part being done and move on to the next step. So yeah, so I will talk to you again here in just a minute. Okay, so this is where we're at. I really like the way that this is looking. I think with the shading added in, it just really starts to bring things to life. All right, I'm gonna work on the portal part next. I need to add in some shading and some highlights, maybe some little magical little Posca dots in there to help me out. I'm gonna grab a few colors just to get some colors in there. I do wanna use a little bit of purple. Let me grab these, I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I'm gonna try with these colors. So I have the mineral violet, I have the grape myrtle, and the magenta from my Soucolor pencils, and then I also have the white Prismacolor. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab this pink. So this is the shallow pink that we had used previously. I'm gonna use that kind of as a blending tool. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. We're gonna work on this little section down here. So I'm really just gonna go through and add a few bits of shading in to kind of where I feel like maybe there should be some darker areas. And I'm gonna do that first with this pinker color, more pink color. That's probably the right term, right? Yeah, and so I'm just gonna add in a little bit of pink here and there. Okay, and now, so I'm gonna randomly pick different areas of the portal bits to add in a little bit of purple, and I have a little bit of a darker purple too. And it just has a little different tone to it. So this is gonna kind of create a good mix of colors in there. I'm gonna go ahead and bring in this rosy pink. So this is number 24. And just kind of, I think maybe this first pink that I was using is a little too red. I want something a little bit more pink. And I'm just gonna kind of blend things around. This is gonna look like a little bit of a hot mess at first. We're gonna bring in the white Prismacolor to kind of add in highlighted areas here and there on the whole bit, okay? So we've got that, and now we're gonna use the Posca. So I'm gonna use my 1M Posca because it's got the thinnest tip, and I'm going to very lightly try to do it. Yeah, this is really thick right now for some reason. I kind of wanted a little bit of a thinner white there, but we'll kind of get what we get. And if you go over onto find any bits, you gotta make sure you get that off there. All right. I probably could have also done this with my white Prismacolor too. Like, I feel like I could have gone over top of things with the Prismacolor. Okay, so, and then we're gonna add a few dots. And that's basically what I'm gonna do for the whole background. So I'll do a little bit more up here in this larger area. Well, let's do this little bit up top, just so you can kind of see what I did again. It's a little wonky, but I think it's okay. I am gonna bring this magenta in, and then I'll just use my other pink, darker pink color to kind of make it more of a purpley pink instead of this red pink that it is. When I was looking at my color swatch, it definitely read as a more purpley pink, but, you know, since it's different papers and there's, you know, I've got a color underneath it here, and I didn't necessarily have that in the swatch chart. So things can look different sometimes, even if you have swatched things out. Okay, so there's my pinks. I'm gonna just kind of blend that around with my more purpley pink. Okay, I like that. Let's go ahead and add some purples in. And again, it's just kind of random areas where I feel like maybe some purple would look nice. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of adding colors here and there. And then we'll add in this darker purple. And again, you can line up this darker purple color with where you've put the other purple, but you don't have to. You can always just add that darker purple as its own thing. Okay, then yeah, let's blend that stuff together just a little bit. So I'm just using this really light pink color to go over everything, and then we're going to add in some white. Okay, and then so when I was saying earlier that I could have done it with my white Prismacolor, I can come in and just, like, if you don't like the starkness of the Posca, you can definitely use a Prismacolor, and it'll just be a much lighter look, but you can still really go over the white lines. But I'm going to use my Prismacolor, or my Posca pen, because I like the way that that looks. I like the vibrance difference between the white and the color in the background. I'm trying to use very light pressure so that hopefully I can get some smaller lines in here, but my Posca is very juicy at the moment for some reason. I'm not sure what is going on there. And again, if you get things over the edge, you can just use your thumbnail to just kind of push the color right back off. Okay, so I've got the white in there, all the lines, and now I'm just going to do a few dots. And again, you can use really light pressure to just barely touch the paint pen to the paper, and it'll, yeah, there we go. So I'm going to hold this closer so you can really see kind of what I did. It doesn't look great up close, but that's kind of what it looks like. But as you know, as you zoom out, it looks great. So I'm going to use that same technique to do all of the rest of the portal. I'm also going to show you what I'm going to do with the bricks around the outside here. All right, I'm just going to see if this will work. So I'm going to use my Mineral Violet, Rosy Pink, and Shallow Pink colors. And I'm going to I've already got a little bit of pink on there. I don't know if you remember when I went through and did that earlier, kind of reserved all of these lighter pink areas. So I'm just going to use my darker pink and blend into that. And then we're going to use the dark purple color to do the little bit of shading and shadow bits on here. And then of course, anywhere where things overlap is going to get another layer of color as well. So yeah, it's going to be it's going to look really similar to like this right around the edge of the portal, but I kind of like that. I think that looks good. Yeah, and I'm just kind of cycling through my colors to make sure things are blended well. And then if I feel like I need to blend things even more, I've got my blender pencil here. That just really takes out all of the white of the paper. That is what I'm going to do all the way around. So all of these stones that are around the outside edge are going to get this same kind of treatment. And yeah, I think it's going to look good. I'm going to go ahead and do this little section here on camera with you guys, and then I will probably finish the rest of the bricks and the rest of the portal off camera. And then we'll move on to the next step, which I think will be the bunnies. I'm going to save the satyr for the last because I'm still not sure what I want to do with that. That's kind of hard for me to decide on that one for some reason. Okay, I'm going to add in a little bit of shadow bits. Okay, so yeah, so that's what that's going to look like all the way around, and you saw the portal bit, so I will finish that off, and I will be back with you guys here in a second. Okay, here we go. So there is the portal all done. I think it looks really cool. It's just a lot of Posca and shading. So, and I had this part, I kept this part without any of the dots because it's like creating a shadow. I hope that reads well. I'm not the greatest with like lighting effects and shadows and everything, but I thought that this would, I don't know, work, I guess. Okay, so next we're going to do the bunnies. So I really like the way that this bunny looks. So I like that there's blue in there and pink mixed together. And I think that I want to do something similar to that. And then I want little magic-y stardust things on the bunnies too. So yeah, let's zoom in on this guy here and we'll get started on that. Okay, so we have the cobalt blue, the shallow pink, the rosy pink, the Prismacolor white, and I brought in the Pablo pale blue or bluish pale, just because I like the way that that looks, and I thought that that would be a good base to try to block out color. So I'm going to start and just kind of have areas where I know it's going to be pink and areas where I feel like it's going to be blue. And I don't know, I think it's probably going to change with each rabbit, probably. So this part will be probably blue, more blue here. And it's not going to be like solidly blue or pink, you know, there's going to be variations in the color and the way that they blend together and everything. So I want to make sure that we have a nice magical looking bunny. Okay, let me grab in some more pinks. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of blue just on the top part of his face. Okay, we might bring in a little bit of purple too, so I'm going to grab this grape myrtles as well. So, okay, so now on top of that pink, I'm going to add in a little bit of this darker pink, just in certain spots. So kind of creating the texture of the rabbit's fur with this darker pink. Now these Soucolor pencils are not the best for fur. They're pretty soft pencil. They don't hold their point super long. So it's not, you know, always the best idea to use softer pencils for fur, but it can be done. It's just kind of a pain. So, okay, yeah. So now I'm just adding this darker blue color on top of where the lighter blue one was. And again, trying to pay attention to the direction of the fur. And we're not covering up the entire blue sections, just like bits and pieces. So it's just like randomly spaced throughout. Okay, I'm going to use the light blue again to go right over the top of all of that dark blue. And this is a very light layer. This is more about blending the things together and around instead of adding more color. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the pink, the light pink, just very lightly. Because this one does have a little bit, it's a little darker than I would like. I really would like a super light pink for this part, but I don't necessarily have that, so we're just going to go with what we have. Okay, I do need a bit of a shadow color. So we're going to use this slate gray that I was using previously. This is also a Pablo pencil. Just going to really darken up some of the shadows here. And I do feel like this part of this leaf would definitely be creating a shadow here. So we're going to go ahead and draw that shadow in. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to use my white and try to blend all of that together. I probably should have waited on the gray. Don't really want to spread that gray out anywhere else. Just want to really blend the pink and the blue together. So I'm going to avoid the gray as best I can. Okay, let's add in a little bit of the gray around the tail. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to come in with the white on the gray and try to blend it so it's not super sharp, but does blend in a little bit better. I'm going to use this Soucolor dark gray to really emphasize the eyes here. And then we'll use a little bit of this pink to really make the nose a little dark. And you know me, I like to add cheeks for some odd reason to all my animals, even if they're semi-realistic. It doesn't make any sense. I always do it though. It's just a silly thing I do. Okay, so now, this isn't quite looking the same, but it doesn't look terrible. So I think what I'm gonna do, okay, so I'm gonna make a few bigger circles with my Posca and just dab it a little bit so that's a nice lighter area, but it still kind of looks white. Okay, and then I'm just gonna add in little dots kind of throughout. Make a couple little like magic-y flare bits here. Okay, so yeah, it's not exact, but I do like it. I think it looks pretty cool. So yeah, I'm just gonna go off camera, do these other two bunnies exactly the same way, just kind of add various shades and colors around. I might add in a little bit more. Yeah, I don't like what I just did. Sometimes with the Posca, you just kind of have to scrape it off and start over, because I don't always get exactly what I'm wanting. I think that's what I wanted. Okay, so yeah, I kind of like that. I feel like it should be a little bit darker, and then the magic-y bits would show a little bit more, but I don't think it's terrible. So yeah, so I'm gonna add the blue and the pink to these bunnies really quick, and I'll kind of show you the placement of those before I add in any shading and stuff. But I'm gonna do those off camera real quick and then come back and show you that. Okay, here really quickly are where I've laid out my colors, so you guys can see that before I start blending things. I'm gonna go ahead and blend with my white. I truly feel like this Prismacolor is just an amazing tool. I love using it. All right, let's get this body blended in. All right, this one doesn't have quite as much color on it, so I'm gonna add a little bit more pink. Yeah, I didn't go as dark on this one, and I'm not sure that the white is gonna show up, so you can always add a little bit more color over top of your white Prismacolor. As long as you are working on decent paper, you should be able to layer it pretty well. Okay, I like that. Okay, yeah, so now I'm just gonna add in some shading, add in some magic Posca dots, and we'll be good to go. So I'll see you again here in a second. Okay, so here are my little bunnies done. I think they turned out really cute. I need to color these little flowers in. And then we need to work on the satyr. So I'm gonna zoom in on the flowers here and we will get started on that. Okay, I'm gonna go back to using the orchid purple that I used on the bigger vine bits, just to get a little bit of shading on here. I'm not gonna go into a whole ton of detail on these. It's just gonna get a little bit of shading. Like the leaves are only gonna get just barely, just like along the center line and then along the opposite edge of the leaf. And then I will add in my little bits of highlights with my white Posca, and then, you know, adding shading on the stems where they need to go. And if it's, you know, if it overlaps, something overlaps something else, you know, a little bit of shading on that too. So yeah, I'm going to finish up these, the rest of these leaves and the leaves over on the other side of the page too, and then we will work on the flowers. I'll show you kind of what I'll do on the flowers. Okay, for the flowers themselves, I'm going to use a little bit of this bluish pale, a little shallow pink, and a little white. And so I'm just going to try to think about how I want to do this. I think the outsides of the flowers are going to have like this pink color. And then the insides are going to get this bluish pale color, but I'm not going to fill the entire inside of them with that color. I'm just going to give it just a little bit of color, just like that. And then we'll use the white to color the whole thing in. And then I think for the little center parts, I think I'm going to add a little bit of gel pen to that. I've got this nice jelly roll that is like a bright pinkish color. So that I thought would be kind of a fun little addition. So yeah, so on this flower here, since you can see a lot of the outside of it, we're going to do pink around the outside edges of the petals. And then on the inside parts, we're going to add a little bit of blue. So again, adding in this white. And then if I want to add just a few little texture bits, I can. Oh shoot, that wasn't dry. Well, shoot. Okay, I can cover it up pretty good with the Prismacolor. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to color the rest of these flowers in. On these little buds, I guess I should show you that too. On these little buds, they're all going to be pink, but not completely. I'm just going to leave a little bit of white at the tips. There we go. So yeah, so that's what those will look like. So I will be right back with you after I get those colored in. Okay, this font is really throwing me for a loop, so I'm going to do something similar to what I've done on the little bunnies on the page, where I'm going to use a kind of a mix of pink and blue together for all of the fur. The hair up here is going to get some bright pink, I think. And I think this violin is going to be like a navy blue. That's what I'm seeing in my head right now. I don't know how that's going to translate into what I actually want to be on the page, but we're going to try. So I'm going to use this blue color as like a shadow color almost. Well, not almost, actually like a shadow color. I'm going to try to avoid, there we go. I'm going to leave the hair, and the little horn I think is going to be really cute. This is such a cute little character. I really like it. Okay. And then I'm going to just add a few little bits with the blue. I really love this blue from the Pablos. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what this little bit is right back here. I think that it might be like a music note flying around behind there. But I think I need to color that in just solid because I'm not sure what it is and I don't want to color it wrong. So we're just gonna, maybe that wasn't the right color. It's good enough. Now it just kind of blends into the background. Okay. Okay, I'm going to continue adding in some blue. I'm trying to decide if I want the hooves to be the hooves. I don't know how to say that. If I want them to be the same color as the rest of the skin or fur, or if I want them to be like a contrasting color, well, it's decided it's going to be the same color. All right, so I've got a little bit of that blue on there now. We're going to work with the rest of the blue for that. Cool. I'm just going to add a little bit of pink into a few spots. It's similar to a highlight color, but mostly we're just kind of adding a little bit of color so that you've got different things to look at. Okay, I like that. I'm going to use the white to blend everything together. Okay, now I need to add in a little bit of this gray for some shadows. I'm going to add a little bit more pink where cheeks would be. I do feel like this is kind of, like I really need to add some more white in here for some reason. So let's just add a few little bits. We're going to add a highlight to the hoof. And I'm not covering every single little bit. I'm just trying to add some highlights in where they might be, it might be a little bit brighter. All right, I hope you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see any of that white at all, but it does have a little bit of a difference to me now. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, let's work on, the hair. So I'm gonna start with the rosy pink, and I'm going to be using the shallow pink and the white for this. So the rosy pink is gonna go in all the areas where I think there's gonna be a dark, needs to be a little darker. And again, it's really handy because the artist has drawn it in for us. So thank you so much, Joseph, for making this easy to color. Because if I had to try to figure out where to put all these shadows and stuff, we'd be here a while. A very long while. Okay, I like that. We're going to extend that color a little bit with the lighter pink. I'm going to use the white to blend that together. Okay, I'm going to come back in with the darker pink again as well, just to darken up a couple of spots. Yeah, I'm going to use this sparkly gel pen again to do the little horn. Okay. Yeah, and then we've got the violin, which I'm going to try to do with a combination of the indigo blue and this cobalt blue. We'll see how this goes. I am going to be using some of the silver for this violin as well. I'm just trying to blend that out a little bit with this cobalt blue. All right, I'm going to blend it with my pencil blender. Okay, and then last steps, I think I'm going to use this silver sparkle pop pen. We're going to do bits and pieces on the violin. No idea if that's the right color to do for that part of it, but it's a made-up mystical animal, so it can be a made-up mystical instrument, right? Okay, yeah, and then I'm going to use my silver sparkle pop pen as well to do all of these notes that are flying around. All right, friends, here is the final result. I do like the way that it turned out. I think I did get a good amount of inspiration and color choices from this little image here. The glowy bits didn't work out as well as I wanted, but I'll keep playing with it and keep trying. I do like the way that this turned out, though. I like my little magic bunnies. I love the way this little satyr turned out. It turned out really cute. I'm going to hold these up closer so you can kind of see a little bit better. I do like how sparkly the music notes turned out. Yeah, I think it turned out really cool. My little magic bunnies. So yeah, so that is it. I hope you guys like this color along. I had a lot of fun doing this. It did take a while. I'm not going to lie. The background took a little bit longer than I wanted it to take. And coloring this vine was tedious because it's complete repetitive stuff over and over and over. And that drives me nuts. But I did it for you guys. No, just kidding. So yeah, I love the way it turned out. I'm so glad I was able to get this page done. And yeah, that's it. I hope you loved it. And if you color it, please tag me on Instagram so I can see what you did. And yeah, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.